Hello, and welcome to the 164 Forever, a podcast where we use the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous to recover from food addiction. My name is Carol. I'm a compulsive eater, and I live in Los Angeles, California. And let's say hello to my fellows. I have Paul G.
Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good day, and it's great to be here. Paul G, recovered compulsive overeater in California, Huntington Beach.
And Rebecca.
Hiya, I'm Rebecca, compulsive overeater from the UK. Really grateful to be here with you both. And yeah, welcome to everybody listening.
And I'm grateful you guys are here. So in our last podcast, we talked about steps 10 and 11. And if you're interested in hearing that or any of our other podcasts, we went through all the steps, basically. Now we're on the last step. We're going to be on step 12 today. So like I just said, we're going to be on step 12. So in steps 1 through 5, that prepared us. We saw that we were powerless and that there was a solution. We made a decision and we identified the things that blocked us from our higher powers. And then we shared our, all of this with another person, and we got their input, and we were open to hear what they had to say. And we saw that our character defects had affected other people, not just ourselves. And we asked God to remove our shortcomings. And then we set about making restitution. It wasn't enough just to admit that we were messed up and had a lot of things wrong with us. We also had to set right the things that we had, the hurts that we had caused, the things we had done to other people, and not for their sake, but for our own sake. And then we learned in 10 and 11 to work those steps every day of our lives and throughout the day, whenever we're agitated, whenever we're resentful. That's what 10 and 11 give us, is a way to deal with in real time the problems that come up for everyone else. I mean, a perfect example is like the other day, my boyfriend was frustrated. He goes, "I'm just going to go for a jog." And I was like, damn, I wish that worked for me. Dang, I wish there was something that relieved, stress. And that, like Harlan always says, some people hit a bucket of golf balls. And I was like, dang, man, I really wish that, like, when I felt frustrated, I could just go for a jog or, play pinochle or something, something that made it better. But really nothing makes it better. Not even the food, which I turned to again and again and again and again. That also didn't make it better, but it was just all I knew. It was just where my mind went. I couldn't tell you why, as a young child, I would steal sticks of butter and go and eat them when I was upset in the tool shed. I don't know why. That's just what's in me. There's no explanation for it. So in step 12, having had a spiritual awakening, I'm sorry, I'm clapping. People on the podcast are going to go, what does that sound? Okay, step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. We don't change the reading of the big book. So for anyone who's confused by me saying alcoholics, when we're reading the big book, which I took the step out of the big book, we don't change the words. We just change it in our heads. And for me, I like to read the big book steps because I just like to really get down to basics. So, Paul, would you like to start us off this week? I think Rebecca started us last week.
Yeah, this is so great. And I remember hearing that steps 1 through 9 were the recovery steps, and 10, 11, and 12 were, really the design for living that I keep on doing. And in chapter 7 in the big book, Working with Others, the first sentence says a lot. It says, practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. And I love to tell sponsees the story of Bill Wilson, and that if he wasn't on the edge, ready to drink in Akron, Ohio, and got on the phone trying to call 8, 9 local ministers, and he finally reached Henrietta Cyberlane, and she said, "Oh, we've been waiting for you. We've got an alky for you." And he went and met Dr. Bob, and our fellowship started because he reached out to work with another alcoholic. And what I heard when I was approaching step 12 and even before is that it's not optional, and it's not convenient. It's not supposed to be convenient. And that one kind of threw me off, like, well, I can give, a half hour a day or, no, it doesn't work like that. I never know. At one point I was working with 4 people and I was spending a lot of time and it's like, how the hell did I get into this? But I really have come to see, having had a spiritual awakening, I needed to have that a spiritual awakening to be willing to do this work. To read that line in the big book that says our real purpose in life is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. And when I first started sponsoring and working step 12, one, I felt woefully inadequate. I had been abstinent for maybe, well, it was probably 120 days at that time, but I just worked the steps, and my sponsor threw me into the pool and said, swim, and I didn't think I had what I needed, but he really reminded me of 2 things that I never forget. And that is that we let the big book do the heavy lifting and that each of us have our own higher power. And it's not up to me to get anyone abstinent. And I also loved thinking about as a sponsor that the important part for me is just to shine the light on the work. And I've heard people like Larry Kay and others describe it as being a Sherpa, help people up the mountain of the steps. And my job is not to be their friend, although I may develop into a friend. My job is not to be their counselor, their life coach, their therapist, their psychiatrist. There's many things that I can't be. What I can do is carry the message just the way that someone shared it with me. And it's like there's so many things to share in step 12, but once I was, once I had started working on step 12, I just started to learn how much I got from it. That I got to see a higher power work in other people's lives. And when their higher power showed up, within days of when we started working, it was really clear to me that it wasn't me that was getting someone abstinent. It was their desperation. It was their willingness. And I think the other thing that I had to learn, so many things I've learned, and I'm not even sure all the things to say, but I want to read something. I know it's the big book, but in the OA 12 and 12, I like what this says. It says, this is page 82. Now we know we don't have to fear anything that comes to us. Even when challenges happen as they do in life, we know we have a way of sanely facing a situation. We have seen that our higher power will reveal something of value to us with every experience as long as we continue practicing these spiritual principles. We're no longer afraid of food because it no longer controls us. The glorious fact for most of us is that God has lifted the food obsession and freed of the obsession and restored to sanity. Today we choose not to eat self-destructively. And working with sponsees, I get to see my disease in action, time after time after time. And I get to see their higher power in action, and I get to see the big book do the heavy lifting. So with that, I'll pass.
Thank you so much. And Rebecca, would you like to talk about step 12 a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's brilliant. I love the kind of Sherpa analogy because, it's so good. Like, who wants to be guided on one of the most treacherous mountains in the world by somebody who's never done it before, right? So, for your sponsor, you want somebody who's done it before. And like even a Sherpa, they're kind of a new Sherpa. They're young. They're just taking their first expedition out. They're probably a bit nervous, but the fact is they've done it before, and the people they're taking haven't. And you're just a guide. But like as a Sherpa, you may say to your prospects, have you been kind of conditioning yourself? Have you been training? Do you have the right equipment, gear, these kind of things? Because like they will guide you, but they're not going to drag you up. you're going to need to take the steps. You're going to need to walk yourself. And yeah, this Sherpa will be able to guide you, but you need to be well enough to do it yourself. My dear friend there, her partner does a lot of kind of mountain walking, and it sounds like it's a lot of training. You can't just rock up to some kind of big mountain without being prepared. So yeah, Sherpa has a role, and it's somebody who's been there and done it, and will kind of celebrate with you when things work out and commiserate with you when it doesn't, but I guess like a Sherpa, they do it because, it's a way of life. You don't just, I was a Sherpa for 2 years and then, now I work for a bank. It's a vocation, and it's an avocation for us. We do this because, yeah, it was given to us. My sponsors spent so much time with me, giving me their free time. Sometimes I was saying good things, sometimes I was just talking out of my proverbial, but they gave me their time and their space. So, I have to pay it forward. I need to give back what I was given, and I do that by working with others. And back to the kind of Sherpa analogy, they're great on things to do with kind of mountain climbing and the Himalayas, whatever, but probably not going to give you great advice about your taxes or about, parenting, maybe, but yeah, they're expert in their area. And like, as a sponsor, yeah, I can guide you through what I've done. But yeah, I'm not a counselor, not a therapist, not a nutritionist. I don't have teenage kids, so there's some things that I'm gonna be like, I don't know, but that's okay, because I'm just like a lighthouse. I'm a light, I'm a guide, and there are many and different types, and that's okay. But yeah, this step in the big book, that first paragraph in Working with Others says, we know you will not want to miss it. So true. It's scary to sponsor for the first time, for sure. I was scared, but like our dear friend Harlan says, more scared not to, because you're only going to keep it by giving it away. And thank goodness I didn't get to miss this, because it's great seeing the light come on in other people's eyes. And it's also great to have what I've learned being reflected back to me, and then getting deeper insights from sponsees, or spewing out one day the exact thing I need to hear myself, because I'm teaching this thing, and that's what sponsoring does. I absorb this on a deeper level because I'm teaching it. I learn so much. You don't want to miss that. I don't want to miss expanding this beautiful gift I've been given. And that's what 12 is. Deep expansion. It's the opportunity to expand this thing. And we do it by giving service. It's poetically so beautiful. Yeah, it's fantastic. In the 12 and 12, it talks about this step being about the joy of living. And yeah, it is a joy, but sometimes it doesn't feel like that, because as Paul said, it's not convenient. Service, sponsoring, doing service at meetings, intergroups, workshops, yeah, it takes a lot of time. And sometimes we can feel pinched and kind of like, oh my gosh, is this the right balance? However, I wouldn't change it, because I've got my life back. And there is such a joy and camaraderie in us working together, and getting well together. It's just brilliant.
Does that mean you're done? That pause. Sorry, as I'm looking in my big book, I was like, dang, where is my? Yeah, I'm not going to find it, of course. But yeah,
right.
I've got what?
The steps we took.
Yes, I have both. I have the big book and the steps we took. And what I was trying to find really quick, which I had open, and I'm not going to find it right now while I'm flipping through, is maybe one of you will find it, is, where it describes what a sponsor is, but it's earlier in the big book, that the man has had the same problem. Oh man, why can't I find that page? But yeah, so So, you know, in step 12, if you read step 12, it's not like thou shalt go out and sponsor. So I know some people are like, but I can carry the message. I don't have to sponsor. But then you get back to working with others, and nothing so much ensures immunity as working with other people. So yes, you can carry the message by just, you know, being a newcomer greeter or helping at a meeting, for sure. But the truth is, if you, or for me, who is a true compulsive eater, you know, like a pretty hardcore alcoholic with food, that's not enough for me. If that was enough, that would be great. I wish all I had to do was like moderate a meeting now and then, and or be a treasurer or do some announcements and stay. But truly, especially early on, the only time I ever really felt relief from the food was those hours I would work with a sponsee. I would be like, wow, I didn't think about food at all for this entire hour, because like Paul said, you're a lot of times you're sponsoring people and you're still fairly new. You just finished the steps, you know, you've just been in program a few months maybe, or maybe years, but you just finished the steps, and you're not like somebody who has like 10 years of abstinence who is just like, I don't even think about the food. I need my food to be quiet. And I'm always like, oh my God, like someone called me and said, am I allowed to enjoy my food? And I was like, I don't know, but I do. So if you find out we're not supposed to enjoy food anymore, let me know, because I still enjoy food. Like, I don't know. But she had, you know, heard, probably one of those people who shares, I like my food to be quiet. And I'm always like, well, I'd like that too, but I still enjoy my food. So, you know, working with other people, and then, you know, working with others, the chapter at the back of the big book really gives us such great instructions on how to work with other people, how to carry that message. And like my sponsor said, we're just putting a light on the big book. We're just walking people through the big book. And early on, I said to people, you know, I haven't sponsored anybody. You be my first. I don't know what to say. If you don't like it, you can leave. I'll refund all your money and you can just go to the next person. It's not a big deal. Like, you know, and I think the first few people who picked me kind of wanted someone who didn't know what they were doing. I think they felt like, oh, maybe I can get away with more or something. I couldn't tell you. Nobody said that to me, but I was so grateful. I was like, thank you so much for letting me practice on you. Thank you so much. Just thank you so much. I was just so grateful that somebody would let me practice walking. And I felt that, you know, so much nervousness just in the phone call, just the first session with somebody, and now I have to speak. Now I have to say something. And I'm like, and some of my pages back then had no writing on them, you know, and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to say about these paragraphs? I didn't write anything down about these paragraphs. But you just talk about it. And sometimes you just say, you know, I don't have a lot to say about those paragraphs. They're kind of self-explanatory. And some sponsors read paragraph by paragraph the big book, and some sponsors will have you listen to podcasts and then I'm more of a podcast, and then we discuss the good stuff. Because I like to read things up in my head to myself. Like, I don't read every paragraph with my sponsees, but we do go through every paragraph together. And then, and like you guys said, we're not a therapist. We're not here to help people with their money. We're not here, you know, like I had a sponsee sending me a donation link to help pay her rent. And I was like, oh, thank you. But that's not what I'm here for. I'm sorry. That's not, like, I'm here to do one thing, you know, that's all I can do. Let's see, what is it? What are my other notes as I'm looking in here? You know, the recovery rate in OA is like, what, 10 to 15%, right? Most people end up going out to eat. And that's true of a lot of 12-step programs in general, is that the recovery rate is small because, like our good friend Charles H. always says, being stuck in your addiction is very easy. It's so easy to walk over to the fridge and grab a spoon and start eating frosting out of a tub. Like, that's super easy to do. But recovering and making those outreach calls and doing a 10th step and saying you're sorry to your partner or whoever, making amends quickly, that stuff is a little harder. It's not impossible, and it gets easier with time. But returning to the food is easier in the beginning for a lot of people, and it is really hard. And that's kind of why next week, if you come back, we're going to talk about putting the food down for the first time and stuff like that. But I found what I was looking for in the big book on page 18. It says, this is what my sponsor pointed out to me is a perfect description of what an actual sponsor is. So, but the ex-problem drinker who has found the solution, who is properly armed with the facts about himself, can generally win the entire confidence of another alcoholic in a few hours, until such an understanding is reached, little or nothing can be accomplished. That the man who is making the approach has had the same difficulty, that he obviously knows what he is talking about, and that his whole deportment shouts out at the new prospect that he is a man with a real answer, that he has no attitude of holier than thou, nothing whatever, except a sincere desire to be helpful. That is to her the best description of a sponsor, and I couldn't agree more. Like, I'm not an expert, I'm not a pro. I'm a crazy person who cannot feed herself properly without going to a bunch of meetings, calling people, emailing her food, sponsoring people, all that kind of stuff. And that is not a normal person. I guess who's to say what normal is, but that's what I always say is, what do I know? I can't feed myself. I don't know how to feed myself. So I guess with that, I think maybe we should wrap things up, unless anyone's got anything else to add to that about step 12, other than just don't be afraid, just get out there and do it badly. Like, it doesn't say that you only get immunity by helping other people well. You can get immunity even if you do it badly. You just got to be willing to try. That's the whole thing, is to just be willing to talk to another person. And to just be brave and take those steps. And the truth is, if you just follow this, I really found that I was like shocked. I was like, oh my God, I thought the steps were the recovery. The steps are the start of recovery. Once you finish the steps and you start sharing them with other people, that's, for me, when the recovery happens. And when I'm between sponsees, I get antsy, and if the food is calling me, the first thing I need to do is just get to a meeting and see where the newcomers are and who needs a sponsor. Who can I help badly or good or whatever. It's up to them. You're just shining a light on it. You're just a Sherpa. So,
like,
right?
I agree with what you're saying there. Like, it's so sad when we let the disease, which tells us that we're not good enough, rob us from being able to keep our recovery and carrying the message, because that's what it is, that perfectionistic voice of, you're not going to be a good sponsor, you don't know this enough, and you haven't done that, and it's like, everyone's been new and started sponsoring. Don't let the disease rob you from keeping and growing your recovery, because somebody out there is desperate for your message, for the way that you spin it. Somebody out there needs it.
And it's great practice in just saying, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I don't have the answer. And there'll definitely be points with most sponsees at some point where I have to do one of two things. One is, why don't you call 3 other recovered people and ask them that question and let me know what you find out? Or I'm going to call 3 recovered people and find the answer to that question, and I'll get back to you. That's always my go-to is, I just don't know the answer to that. You don't have to be an expert of the big book. Like you just saw, I've read this book a bunch of times and I thought it was on 18 and I looked and I thought I did. So like, you think you know where things are or the answer to things, but it's better to just say, I don't know. Talk to 3 other sponsors that are out there and see what they say about this matter. Because I'm not sure about a lot of stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know is a really good, humbling answer. And we need that because we don't know. There's more I don't know than I do know.
I don't know. I don't know, guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do know we will be back soon.
Yeah, the thing that I like to add is, you'll hear we're not in the results business, and that we achieve our our immunity by continuing to work. And the step says, try to carry the message. So it doesn't say to be perfect, to have a certain batting average. And when people for whatever reason they work the steps, they pull out maybe at their 4th step or at their 8th step. It's like I had to learn that it's not about me. And if it's about me, then it's okay, but it's really not about me. And I had resentments with my sponsor when I worked the steps, and it's just, those are the things that come up. And some people, they don't like it when their sponsors tell them to do things. So, I suggest things, and I suggest that if you want to do the work, this is what you need to do. but I love the idea that I think Bill Wilson was early on was saying that, it's just no one's getting recovered. I don't know what's going on, and I keep on having these people and nothing's working. And Lois, his wife, reminded him, but Bill, you're still sober. You are, you are okay, and that's why we do it. It's so that we remain immune. But the other thing that happens is, there have been people that I got to the point and I said, you know what, I think whether it's been 2 or 3 times that someone has gone out, I said, I think you need a new voice. And that was really challenging for me to just say, okay, maybe I'm not the voice. Maybe you need someone else. Maybe whatever reason. It's just that I'm not a superhero. I'm just a human being, and I carry the message the way I was taught. I use the literature, and I know that's hard on people to have that happen, to have a sponsor drop them. It's not easy when a sponsee drops you either, right?
Yeah, I try not to use the word drop. I try to say I return them to the loving hands of their higher power or something. They just have a message, you know what I mean? Because it's not dropping. It's not that. It's
much better.
Yeah, it's just that if I'm not, if it's not if this combination isn't working, then let's try a different combination. And there's other sponsors out there who are willing to do it. So why wouldn't you,
Yeah.
And I really saw that tried as well this morning when I was reading step 12. I was like, tried. Yeah, good. Doesn't make it too hard. It makes it easy.
Tried.
Yeah. Makes it easy. It makes it easy. You're just trying your best. And I've had sponsees hang up on me. I've had people get mad at me, and you make mistakes and you just move on, and it's just not the end of the world. They will find another sponsor. I promise. If they want to get abstinent and work the steps, they'll find the right sponsor for them. And it's just, it's just like I think it was Harlan. It's just a numbers game. You just got to get out there and keep doing it until. That's why they say stick around for the miracle or whatever, is because the only way you're going to fail is by not keeping trying. Just keep coming back to the rooms, keep going to meetings, try with a different sponsor, read the big book on your own, listen to podcasts, make those outreach calls, talk to people, ask them questions. You're not going to insult us by asking us like those difficult questions. If anything, you help our recovery by asking us really difficult questions. And we appreciate it, so even if you're not going to work with us, it's still great. Reach out, get our numbers, get people's numbers, call them if you want to sponsor or if you want to be sponsored and go through the steps. And I guess with that, we'll wrap things up, and we'll be back. We've been kind of recording every other week, but just subscribe to the channel and you'll know when the next episode goes up, because sometimes things happen. Cars break down, and sometimes I need a babysitter, and sometimes things happen. So we just do it as often as we can. And we're done with the steps, but we're not done talking to you guys. So we're going to continue with more topics for newcomers, return members, people who are new to the program. And next podcast, we're going to talk about like how when you come in, what is it like when you first come in, and how do you put that food down? Some people say you put it down by putting it down. You just put it down. Well, that's true, but it's hard. It's not easy. It can be very, very difficult. And so we'll discuss that and a few other things. So just be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can get notifications when the next podcast goes live. Thank you so much for listening, and we will be back again soon. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.